What's up guys, and welcome to today's video. If you look behind me, there are quite a few cars. So this is a video that a lot of you guys have been requesting for forever now, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to make it happen until the open house where I would have most of my cars in the same place. So behind us we have 16 of my cars, not every single one of them, I guess 17 if you include the toter. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start off with a little montage, and then I'm gonna get into talking a little bit about the car, maybe some of my favorite memories, roughly what the specs are, and then we'll end it with a cool exhaust note, because I'm curious what car you guys think sounds best. Before I go into too much detail, I do want to take a second and just remind you guys how unbelievably appreciative I am of being in this position and being able to be 24 years old and own over 20 cars in all different countries and all different states, and be able to make content and share it with you guys. I cannot express how rad it is having all these cars that are all drivers' cars, all very special in their own unique way. And if you are new to this channel and you aren't familiar with any of them, I'm excited to maybe open your eyes a little bit to a different chassis or a different platform or a different car that you may have known I've had but don't know why it's so special. So before we begin, there's one other thing, all right? This is an idea I had the other day, and I have the place to make this happen, but I need to know that there's interest and that you guys are gonna watch the video and share it around, because if you don't, I'm not gonna be able to afford the track rental because it's going to be crazy. But if you guys want to see a side-by-side drag race with every single one of these cars at the same time, I need you to go right now and hit the like button on the video. If it gets 100,000 likes, I will do everything in my power to make it happen. Maybe it will help me be able to convince sponsors to be able to partially fund the track rental, because the place that we gotta go to stack up this many cars side by side is going to cost a lot of money. So before we get started, this is gonna kind of be my disclaimer clip. At the end of each time I talk about one of the cars, I'm gonna start it up and give you guys a couple revs, because I wanna hear which car you guys think sounds the best. So right now, I wasn't planning on filming this, but literally almost every single car is running, so I can get them up to temp, so I can walk by, turn them on, do a couple quick revs that you guys will see at the end of each segment. So I think the only thing crazier than all these cars here in one place right now is the fact that pretty much all of them run except the one missing the engine. So that's rad. Now we begin. I've lined up the cars in chronological order from when I've purchased them, and we're gonna start with the E92 335i. So here we have my 2008 BMW 335i, and if you guys haven't seen a video already, this car meant a lot to me. This was kind of the car that gave me the motivation to really start pushing my merch and kind of push my YouTube as a business platform and give me some sort of reason and something to work towards. And this car has been a very big symbol for me of kind of where I've come from. The only car I've had before this I got in 2011. It was my E46, and I just kind of keep this car around, even though it never really cooperates. It's just a big meaningful car to me. So going around aesthetically, nothing too crazy. One new thing that I haven't shared with you guys yet because I haven't gotten around to it, you might have noticed I have a new headlight set up on the car. These were from Z-Work lights. They rebuilt my headlights for me, blacked out the housings, and put in some DTM halos. I'll put a little link to them if you want to check them out, but they did a really good job, and even added these little carbon strips to the inside. So it really made the car look a lot nicer. I just haven't had time to really give you guys an update on this car because it's still not running perfectly, and I don't want to start ripping on it until I'm 100% confident with the tune and everything that's going on with it. This car did get shipped to the Nürburgring. That was a whole big scenario, and it didn't actually make it. So it is pretty much set up for the track. It has big Brembos in the front and the rear. It's on some grippy tires with BC forged wheels. It's on some custom BC suspension that we actually developed for Sebring, so the car handles really well. Right now it's not the most ideal fitment or alignment spec for racing, but I guess the important part that you're probably curious about is what's under the hood. So this is an N54. It's a 3-liter twin turbo engine from BMW. A lot of people like to refer to it as the newer 2JZ because these cars can make ridiculous power on stock block. Right now we are around 750 wheel with a Garrett 3584 RS, low mounted with a Motive single turbo kit. So this car, like I said, it still needs some work. I think if it wasn't for the sentimental attachment to this car and kind of the stories and everything I've had with it, you know, one thing I'm gonna do is share with you guys a memory of every single car that kind of means the most to me, and it's what I associate the car with. And for this, it's definitely in the beginning of my channel when everything started getting crazy, just all of us hopping in this car with the red seats, with the roof rack on top, with our bikes, and showing up at the skate park and doing pulls here and there. It was always a good time.
How to talk to girls with Adam LZ.
I like your car. Nice colors. It brings out your eyes. I'm not, it's sick. You want to race? Okay. Your car actually sounds pretty sick.
I feel like we're bonding.
I'll give her a head start. But if I had to get rid of one car based on how it feels and how it performs, right now it would probably be this one, just because the N54 has been such a headache to try to get it to run perfectly. There's always little bugs at the BMW, there's always little electrical things going on, and right now it's just kind of taking the back burner because it has the least purpose of any of my cars, other than to be a fun cruiser that was kind of my first car. So it does have a very, very cool custom titanium exhaust that Alberto did for me. It's got a wave track LSD in the rear, cryo-treated axles. I think it's got a triple disc clutch for motive. It's got little carbon bits like side skirts, M3 side skirts, aero lip, carbon diffuser, carbon lip, BMW M Performance wheel, RTD shifter, Bride Low Max seat, and other than that, it's kind of stock. So Carbon Wraps did a cool job, and they blacked out my trim for me, Ultimate Auto, tinted these windows, and other than that, it's pretty much a stock BMW. So it does look the most stock out of all the cars in the fleet, but this car is probably one of them that has the most money into it, and I'm hoping soon to get it dialed so it is a good running car, but right now it runs. I'm just nervous to rip on it until I know it's perfectly sorted. So I don't want this video to be 2 hours long, so I'm not going crazy into detail. Obviously you guys know I'm a YouTuber and I have made many videos of each one of these cars. So if you want to know more stuff in detail, I would recommend searching for videos with a specific car. But now what I'm gonna do at the end of each clip, I'm gonna start it up and let you hear some exhaust sounds. So at the end you can tell me which one you think sounds the best. So I've had that 335 for 5 years now, and the next car that we're going to talk about that I've had for 4 years is kind of the hero car of this channel. My S13, or if you want to call it a 240SX or 180SX. It's a Nissan 240SX hatch 1989 SR20. My very first drift car. Fun little story. When I first got this car, the plan was me and Jimmy were going to kind of share it. He was going to help work on it and stuff, and then once I got it up to Connecticut, we realized that Lime Rock stopped allowing drifting and I was better off bringing it to Orlando to drift. And this car is the only reason why I know anything to do with cars, because before it I didn't really mod cars, I didn't know how engines worked, and then within my first like couple weeks of owning it, threw some rocker arms, ended up having to take apart the engine, and I learned a lot very fast. So walking around, we'll talk about this car aesthetically real quick. Origin aggressive aero, a door that needs to be slammed shut because of Alberto's Injuku cage that presses up against the door panels that I had to have. But walking around, you know, we got Ganador mirrors, got a BN hood, some custom LZ splitters, got a bash bar tucked down in there, 1718 staggered work CR Kais, and then we have some CTSV Brembos in the front. A little bit overpowered for this car, but I like them. Dual caliper Z32 brakes in the rear. Still the same Buddy Club exhaust that this car came with, which is kind of funny. It's had a couple different modifications throughout underneath the car, but standard drift car stuff, you know, ISR arms, subframe bushings, Serial 9 shifter, my favorite setup. What else? Color combo I kind of kept on from the previous owner. The car was supposed to resemble a Frappuccino, so it was like cream on the outside and then kind of like a chocolatey mocha on the inside. When I got the car, it was just like a stock SR hatch that hadn't really been touched or even tracked at all, and it's still got an SR in it. Not the prettiest engine bay. I stole the filter for another car, but kind of standard drift car stuff. Some big Mishi fans, Mishi radiator, Garrett G25 turbo. It is a fully forged SR that me and Alberto put together. Stock compression or half over, I don't remember exactly, but it is still tuned on a stock ECU. RS Enthalpy tuned it, and the car makes somewhere in the mid 500s and about 500 foot-pounds of torque, depending on how much boost I run. But if you're wondering why this car hasn't been driven in a while, right now you'll notice in the exhaust clip I don't start it because it has a dead battery, so I had to leave it running with a jump pack. Other than that, it's missing a diff. I brought it to get rebuilt because it was making kind of a little bit of noise, and it's just taking longer than we expected. So the car's certainly been crashed a couple times, but I like to keep it clean, and I haven't been really drifting it a whole lot just because I'm always nervous to get it crashed up, and I have so many other drift cars to go crash. So for me to take it out, it's kind of on special occasions, special tracks, or driving with other people. But I don't know, this car just means a lot to me because it is the car that I learned how to drift on, and I don't know, I want to keep it around forever. This car and the BMW that I forgot to mention are both on E85. Pretty much all these cars are on E85, or specifically Ignite Red E90. Ignite is one of my biggest sponsors, and I run their fuel in pretty much everything, even my Can-Am. So it kills me knowing that I'm gonna forget a lot of stuff when I'm going over these cars, but I know a lot of you guys have been watching the videos forever, so you do know a lot of the other random details and stuff. But all these cars have so much time and energy and effort poured into them that it makes it really tough to just kind of go over them quickly. Before we move on to the next car, I would have to say my fondest memory of the S13 is doing my very first donuts at south of the border with Jimmy. Turn the wheel, drop the clutch, easy enough. Bubboland! Someone wasn't scared to burn rubber. I had a Focus LZ.
Oh, come on.
No, we good. Not bad.
We're out here. That was fun.
You burned way more rubber than I was hoping you would, but
hey, I paid for the tires.
I was trying to conserve some rubber, and Adam's just like, oh, let me just burn all of it off, but it's okay, let's go. We still got so much more.
We're gonna go get some fireworks.
Fireworks.
So when we first got this car, we drove it from Florida straight up to Connecticut, barely even touched the car, barely even worked on it, made it the whole trip up. Sketchy, things loose, very bumpy suspension, but I don't know, that was just a very memorable moment to me for that car, and it's been through a lot with me. It's been all over the country, and one other cool thing, I love keeping this little summit pass in here from when I drove this car up to Pikes Peak. The elevation had it running so bad that it was so rich I would have to unplug the injectors just to start it up there. But anyway, here's my S13, and I'll let you hear it. Since we're going in chronological order, before I go to the S15, the car that I got after my S13 that was technically my second drift car is actually over in Japan right now. So I bought a JZX100 Cresta that is kept at Power Vehicles over at Ebisu, and I go over there and I drive it. I try to drive it once a year. Sometimes it's, you know, not once a year, or maybe 2 times a year. But I'm just gonna put a little montage in here of that car. Maybe I have some clips going over the specs, but here you go.
Hi everyone, this is Alexi from Noriero coming all the way from Japan, specifically Ebisu Circuit. That down there is Ebisu Minami Course, or South Course. You may have heard of it before. It's one of the most famous drift tracks in the world, and I've got something really interesting to show you guys. So we all love watching Adam's drifting shenanigans these days, but this is his new drift car. Now this is the car that Adam's picked up, a JZX100 Cresta. So here's the engine, basic 1JZ VVTi. Still got the standard turbo, but that's fine. Keep it nice and reliable. This car's gonna be really good here at Ebisu Circuit.
My favorite part about the car, definitely the interior, so I'm gonna start with that. It's got these sweet Recaro seats. I have, of course, my Garage Moon Power collab floor mats. It's got Defi gauges all aligned in the dash. Door cards are super clean. This isn't wrap, so I don't know if this is aftermarket trim or what the heck it is, but it looks cool. I don't know if it's stock. Got all the seats, harnesses in, they look amazing. Very, very happy. Thank you to Yashio Factory and Bride. the car overall isn't in terrible shape. It's missing some headlights and got some dents and dings, but it's in pretty good shape considering how many Mat series it's been through. I'd say fondest memory with that car was going over that jump at Minami. That's just like such a famous track and such a famous spot that I've watched so many videos of. To finally drive it myself and, you know, link it and tandem over it was just a really, really rad feeling. So that's that. Moving on to what is actually the most expensive car in the fleet, which you may not assume, is my S15. So this car was sponsored and built by Injuku Racing, and originally when I got the car, it was actually after my Ebisu trip. I had a 2J that turned into a 3.4 2J that me and Alberto were building that was supposed to go in my cream car because I was having so many SR problems. And after Japan, I realized that simple is better and I should keep an SR in it because keeping the engine that came in the chassis is just so much less headache, and I was about to way overbuild my old reliable car. So I actually bought this S15 just as an extra chassis to put the engine in, and it slowly escalated into what is now an FD car. So when I was initially working through it with Injuku, I kind of wanted an FD level car that I could take out to festival events like Hyperfest or Grid Life, drive around town, and I had no interest in doing any sort of Pro-Am or FD or anything. As you guys know, I wound up doing Formula Drift Pro 2 with the car after petitioning for my license. I didn't do the best, but I did end up qualifying first at one of the rounds. I placed second at one of the last rounds, and I wound up winning my Pro 1 license. So that's pretty cool. First year with this car. It's a phenomenal car, definitely the fastest car that I own. This car runs on an ECU Master EMU Black, and it was tuned by Titan. And right now, as it sits, it is turned down just for safety, and it makes right around the mid 700s for power. Probably in the 600s for torque. So as you guys know, we've had it turned up as high as 1,000, but it was unnecessary for Pro 2 to run that much power. I don't know what we're going to necessarily do for next year in regards to power, but there's definitely going to be some changes. Aesthetically, you'll notice this car is covered in signatures right now, which is kind of a cool little activity I thought we'd do at the open house. Let everyone sign the car since it is going to get rewrapped and or painted next year. But aesthetically, this is a Vertex hood, a full Vertex Edge wide body. We've got BC forged wheels, Z32 calipers, Ganador mirrors, and there's so much to talk about with this car that I'm probably just going to film stuff and show you. But this car, as well as that car, as well as that car, are all on full Deschwerks fueling with pumps and injectors, all obviously E90 or E85 safe. Got a pretty cool fuel cell with an integrated surge tank, and then you'll see back here in the trunk is where the magic happens. Lots of crazy fab work in here. The whole entire chassis is stitch welded, powder coated, rear mount radiator, some big fans. You'll notice down here we've got a quick change rear end, Wisefab front and rear. Forgot to tell you guys, what do I have on this car right now? I have GK Tech, full arms and everything, angle kit on that car. This car is on BC two-way adjustable coilovers. The S13 is on custom spec'd out grippy BCDS series coilovers. Quick note in case you aren't familiar, if you ever go to our site, lzmfg.com, we are an authorized dealer of BC coilovers, and if you want us to help you set up a set of coilovers for your car, whether it be track use, drift use, street use, we can help you custom set up the perfect set of suspension to give you a good ride. If you want stance, we can help you get stance. If you want grip, we can help you get grip. Whatever you want, we got you. So this car has got a Lexan rear window, OEM side windows and front window. Doesn't have windows in the side. Bub from Injuku, who no longer works there, unfortunately, did a phenomenal job building this car. His mom did an awesome suede dash. This car in the S13 have Sparco seats. This car is running, I think, like a 75 shot of nitrous to help spool the turbo a little bit. 40 shot, actually. Electric water pump, it's down there. ECU Master everything. We got their PDM, their dash, Samsonite sequential transmission, awesome billet plate that Bub made. In back, we have a fresh air system. We've got a cool suit system, full fire suppression system. This car is basically built to Formula Drift spec, so there's certain things on a checklist that you have to have on your car in order for it to pass, and this car has it all, including a custom carbon fiber roof because my original one was dented. So a friend of ours, Anthony Lolo Carbon, actually custom made me a removable carbon roof. I haven't ever pulled it off, but I can. There's just little screws if I wanted to drive this around like a convertible. Still got to do that. I've just never gotten around to it. But Achilles 123 rubber, very, very grippy. Now the magic is underneath the hood on this thing. So this car has a fully built 3.4 Brian Crower Stroker 2JZ. You can see the Wisefab down there. Everything's cut out. We got our little nitrous down there. I've got a custom sleeper designs, intake manifold, D-Shworks fueling. Got pretty cool intercooler, power steering, oil cooler setup. Polished Garrett 3584 RS. Full oval tubing underneath the car. It dumps over by the diff just in case I back into anything. Single wastegate. It's got a Bink modded subframe, custom MA Motorsports catch can. Man, there's so much going on with this car. This is a VVTi engine, so it does have variable timing. We've got some rad Dan components down in there. Not the prettiest thing, but this is a used race car. Custom mil-spec firewall connectors, originally based off of a wiring specialties harness that we just made a few modifications to. Some custom Titan valve covers, and like I said, there's just so much to talk about. This would be probably a 3-hour video if I said every little thing about the car. But like I said, fortunately, there are many videos on this car walking you guys through it, the whole process of building it, where you can learn more about it. So that's going to be it for the S15. I would say my favorite moment of owning this car was the battle that I had at the last round in Texas against Beecham when I entered, and I was a little bit too close, but I didn't lift, and I think I tapped his door like 3 times. It was just such a rad feeling. Even though we ended up losing that battle, still probably one of the best moments ever driving this car, and it just put a massive smile to my face. So.
A little bit more posture, a little bit more poise there, but Beecham, a good lead run, doesn't get all the way into that second outer zone. Again, learn from your mistakes. LZ nudges it out of the way into that final outer zone, goes Trenton Beecham, and there is Adam LZ. A great run from both of these drivers. Ryan, let's look at it again. Congratulations, make some noise for Adam LZ. His first time being on the podium.
That is my S15, and now I will let you listen to it. We have my 2017 Mustang Gt350. This is also one of the cars that I would get rid of if I had to get rid of it. It means the least to me. I have the least time into it. Walk it around. We'll give you a really quick rundown on everything I've done to it. Ford Performance springs, upgraded sway bars. Originally I use this thing for tracking a lot, so I did have NT01 sticky rubber on it. Got a full American Racing headers, exhaust, the whole deal. Sounds great. Flat plane, revs great, makes like 500 wheel. Got a Lund flex fuel tune that I run mostly Ignite Red on. This car is really, really good when you have the Ignite Red. They're kind of naturally lazy down low, but when you put these cars on 85, it just picks up a bunch of mid-range torque and it feels way better than it does in stock form. Underneath the hood, looks fairly stock. We got a carbon intake, little oil air separator. It's got about 16,000 miles on it at this point. It's a fun car. It's a great daily. The purpose that it mainly serves is to let my friends use it or use when all the other cars are broken. It's a car that I leave at the airport. It's a car that I just don't really care about that much because it is something that I haven't really put much time or money into, and it is just kind of it doesn't necessarily feel like my car. So I know I didn't really say what the other purposes are for these cars, so I'll go through it real quick. S13, hero car, drift occasionally. This, Formula Drift, big comp car. this kind of beater daily, used loosely. Best memory with the Gt350, probably taking it on adventure drives and driving it all through the Midwest in the canyons and stuff, and getting to drive around with a bunch of exotics.
Turn left. Proceed to the route.
We're taking the fun way, GPS.
In 2.8 miles. Turn left.
There, the car really shined for me because it has a double overdrive in 6th, so on the highway you could cruise at like 120 and the RPMs would be low and didn't really use that much gas. A blast in the canyon, super comfortable, besides the fact that the seats give me back pain. It's a good road trip car, sounds great. I've had a blast with it on the track and I've been blown away every time I drive this car at how good it sounds and how rowdy it is.
Holy shit.
They do tramline quite a bit, which is kind of annoying. So the front end will kind of like pull you around on the roads, and you'd think that it would have a bad alignment, but it's just kind of how the car is. And unfortunately, other than that, it's a great car, but it's nothing I'm super crazy about. But like I said, the best thing about it is the sound, and I'm about to play the sound clips now. The next car is one of them that's probably given me the most, I don't want to say return, but the most fun per dollar. My 350Z. It's a 2008 HR 350Z that I originally got for $5,000 with a bad clutch and some body damage. And this car, the reason why I got it, me and Taylor knew that driving Z's was the way to go. It was the most cost effective, most fun per dollar. They just run forever and they're great for drifting. We were never fully convinced until we convinced our friend Matt the Ginge to get one, saw him slaying and running everybody's doors with faster cars. Me and Taylor were convinced to get them, and this was my choice. So walking around aesthetically, I've got an APR front splitter mounted to a bash bar. I can't remember the guy that makes these, unfortunately, but someone will know and comment down below. Dual Mishimoto oil coolers, or maybe actually just kidding, one's oil cooler, one's a power steering cooler if I remember correctly. Nice little custom bumper cut. We have carbon crown crafting front fenders. I have rear ones, but I like to leave it metal until you really need it, because this you can hit a bunch of times and it'll never really give you a problem, but fiberglass cracks. Got these cool little door protectors that don't really do anything, but they kind of look stupid, and I like this thing looking stupid. It's got a very custom titanium exhaust that started off as a Tomei and ended up being remade like 8,000 times. We used to have it coming up through here shooting fire, but it would just melt everything, including the taillight and the bumper. This car's purpose is just to thrash, let other people drive, bang doors with people. Definitely fondest memories are banging doors with Taylor and Matt the Ginge all over. We won a team tandem comp in the Poconos with these things. Got some cool Zacutech louvers. It was a really cool looking car, and somehow it stayed somewhat clean with how much I abuse it. 18 by 9.5 plus 10 Cosmos wheels inside. Like I said, it's still fairly clean. Sparco seats, still stock trans, just some sort of, I think it's got an action clutch in it. Nice little tucked away PBM handbrake, all nice. Still full interior, still works well. It does have nitrous on it. My purge is in the car because I originally did it as a secret when I had a comp against Matt, and I didn't want him to know that I had nitrous. So that's somewhat hidden back here. Tried to keep a like black and orange theme with this car, but this is just tried and true Sally right here. Because of the nitrous, it actually is a little bit slower than it could be. Martin did originally tune this car, still stock ECU, but it made, I think, I don't even know what it made, maybe 275 wheel or something stupid, but you have to pull a little bit of timing out for nitrous. So without nitrous, it's a little bit slower, but it's got AEM intakes on it. Engine's pretty much bone stock, nothing done to it. With nitrous, this car's got a 75 shot, and I think it makes close to 350 wheel. Without nitrous, I think we're in the mid to high 200s, so like 250, 275, but it's plenty for drifting. I run 265 tires on it. It's got a ton of grip, and this thing is a force to be reckoned with. So suspension wise, again, custom BC Racing coilovers, DS series, ton of grip. I think I got 4 K springs in the rear. This thing practically does wheelies. It's got Wisefab suspension, dual caliper in the rear, and it's probably one of the nicest driving cars. It feels very nice and new inside. It's very smooth, wheel doesn't shake. I really like it. It's a great car, and it's not going anywhere because I have so little money into it, and this thing is just reliable as heck. I mean, I've had that temp gauge pinned so many times. It's got like 130,000 miles on it. It just keeps on ripping. So here's some exhaust clips. It makes lots of cool pops and bangs, and let me know what you guys think. Alright, the R32 Skyline kind of came about in a weird fashion. So I really wanted a chaser after being in Japan so much, and I didn't want to pay the price for them because they're really expensive in the States. Fast forward, I did end up getting 2 of them. But when I built the Skyline, it was me trying to create a chaser. I think the car I actually paid way too much for. I paid like 13 grand for it, and the RB25 that was already swapped into it turned out to be blown up. So everything was pretty much changed, but I still did keep the same PS Deuce kit because I thought it looked cool. Added a BN hood to the mix. I just put some, I think, D-Magic front fenders. I can't remember. My friend Ant did this livery, and Super Wow Factory did the cutting. And then my friends over at Envision helped me do all the graphics in my garage. But walking around, it's got a D-Max, oh, D-Max front fenders, not D-Magic, D-Max, D-Max wing, D-Max wing. I did red tint because I thought it looked a little bit different. Again, Work CR Kai wheels, 1718 staggered, dual Z32s in the rear, Z32 in the front, full GK Tech, kind of similar to my S13 in terms of setup, but under the hood, it's a lot different. It's not running perfectly at the moment. After pulling the engine to do some leak fixes, it started acting kind of funny, so I need to retune it with Jamie Marsh, who has tuned this car and did a phenomenal job. Makes around 600 wheel, high 500s for torque. It's got a pretty cool custom Doc Race manifold with a Garrett GTX 3071 Gen 2. I'm trying to get a shot to show you guys, but it's got a like camo coated manifold down in there. Well, you've probably seen it. Single external gate. This is Series 2 RB25, RB26 covers with better baffling. Looks pretty. I actually have a VTC relocation, so I could do the individual throttle body mod that comes off the RB26 for better throttle response. Full D-Works fueling, painted the engine bay, cool little aftermarket vibrant vacuum manifold, lots of vibrant goodies all over here. This is a Otaku manifold that they custom put my logo on. Lots of cool little custom bits, or these radiator brackets made from Toge factory. Still got the same HKS intercooler that came with the car. Actually flows pretty well, and I've got a little Mishimoto oil cooler tucked in back there that also has a fan that you guys can't see. Got a vibrant catch can down in there. Very cool HPI radiator that I actually got their HPI radiator saver. It's kind of hard to see, but it covers half of the radiator. So this car does still have AC and it's ice cold. I tend to daily this car a lot, and it stays super cool with this custom shroud that I made and these 2 fans that we were able to fit in there. Custom hard lines going to the turbo because I had issues melting stuff. Engine wise, it is fully built. It's got all the typical RB mods. It's got different size restrictors to let less oil to the head. It's got one of them blocked off. It's got the head drain. It's got the Nitto oil pump, so it pumps a lot of oil. It's got an extended sump, LS coil packs. Nothing too crazy, but kind of standard stuff in the RB world, but it is a very cool setup car. Again, custom setup BC DS series coilovers. Thing has a ton of grip. I've always taken pride at how clean the interior on this car is. It's got Bride low max reclinable seats. It's got Nismo floor mats. They are the cool carbon back ones. Going forward, I think this is a mine shift boot that I got off Tommy with a Nismo shift knob. It is again a CDO9 with the Serial 9 shifter. Perfect location. I got no lift shift so I can shift fast. Cool little bits like this Nismo cigarette lighter. Little radio delete panel I made since I control my radio right here. I've got a little tiny amp in the trunk, and then always trying to keep it clean and simple. We've got a nice little handbrake setup here. Nardi wheel, custom little carbon backplate that our friend Anthony made, along with an ECU Master digital dash. So I like to think that this is a very tasteful and clean yet very functional drift car. Cool story, and probably one of my fondest memories with this car is the fact that we built it. I got this car only like a little over a year ago, which is kind of crazy because I feel like I've had it forever, and instantly brought it up to Connecticut and dailied it for like 3 months straight. And with a freshly swapped car that you've changed a ton of stuff on, that's pretty wild. It does take a little bit of maintenance to keep up, especially with all the rod ends getting loose and issues with them blowing out with all the bumpy roads in Connecticut, being a very slammed and low car. But this car is very fast, very fun to drive, brakes feel great, power feels great, sounds great. It ticks like all the boxes for me, so I really love it. I was never crazy about sedans, but it did end up coming out pretty cool. I like how it looks. I know I'm gonna forget some sponsors and some people that have provided me parts on all these different cars, and I'm sorry in advance. There's just so much to think of, and me trying to do this quickly before we lose all our sunlight, I know I'm going to forget some stuff. So I will show you one last thing on this car. Inside the trunk, we got a pretty wild setup. Like I said before, I've got that little amp tucked down in there. The battery is relocated to the trunk, and then we've got a Dishworks fueling system with a surge tank here, 2 of their pumps, and then a DW400 in tank. I do plan on maybe doing bed liner or something to clean this trunk up. I just haven't gotten time to do it yet. So that is one of the things on the list for this car. Other than that, I know DK Tech came out with a revised version of the front knuckles that I want to try switching to, and maybe make this car drive a little bit better. But it is a very easy car to drive. I like to describe it as a good mix of my S13 and my 350Z, because it kind of has a lot of grip and it's kind of more stable than my S13. But it's more nimble than the 350Z, a lot more fun to drive. So I don't know necessarily what the purpose for this car is gonna be. Maybe at the bigger festival events, since I found it's way too expensive and too much of a headache to run the S15. I kind of am toying with the idea of putting a cage in this car and bucket seats in the rear. One of my limiting factors is because this car doesn't have a cage, I'm not allowed to drive a lot of the bigger events. But also, if you are familiar with race car stuff, it's way more dangerous to be driving a car with a cage on the street than it is to be driving a car without a cage on the track, especially with drifting stuff, and especially at a lot of the tracks that I drive with this. But maybe I'll do bucket seats in the rear and this can turn into like a drift taxi or something. But other than that, it is one of my favorite cars. It makes cool noises. I don't necessarily know what the purpose is. Originally it was supposed to be a thrash car, and then the RB25 that was in it ended up having to be escalated into something wild, and it lost all of its simplicity. So it is still a car that is very good, stays cool, rips, makes cool noises, and is a blast to drive. But it kind of scope creeped into something that it wasn't intended to be. Like I said though, even though it's kind of running funny right now, which you guys might be able to hear in the exhaust clip, it does sound great. My all-time favorite car that is a little bit dirty right now, you guys all know, and probably has most of the airtime on my channel as of lately, is my 1998 Evo 5. So this car, if you want to know the story behind why I got an Evo, I never realized how good all-wheel drive cars were, and I really had no clue even when I got this. I wanted a beater car to have up in the north because I started hanging out more in Connecticut, and I wanted a car that I could put snow tires on and thrash around in the winter. I was looking at Evo 8s because I heard that Evos were more reliable than Subarus. I thought it was cool. The Ford G63 is an awesome platform, and I wound up finding this car for about the same price I was gonna pay for an Evo 8. Tommy found it for me in Texas, and it was just way cooler and more different, and I thought you guys would like it on the channel, and it wound up being something that I fell in love with. This car I have built to be the ultimate backroad monster. Also have been testing it a lot at the track and have upgraded stuff with track stuff in mind, but this car is incredible. Morfab made me a custom titanium exhaust. I deleted AYC and did an Evo 8 rear end. It's got all custom chromoly race fab arms in the front and the rear. Just that stuff alone with a carbon drive shaft shaved so much weight off this car that it weighs in the low 2700s. So a car that makes 500 wheel, actually a little over 500 wheel, almost 500 foot-pounds of torque, weighs 2,700 pounds and is all-wheel drive, is crazy. This car, I did gyro disc, 2-piece rotors on it. It's got upgraded gyro disc pads. It's got the factory Brembos that were coated with aftermarket stainless lines. I think the wheels are 17x9 22 TE 37s, R888R tires, 245 all around. Some little custom carbon bits that I had to wait forever and order from Japan. I never realized how good all-wheel drive cars are like around corners and stuff. I always thought it was more of a drag race thing. So when I learned how good these things handled, I fell in love. And I don't know, it just looks cool. It looks like something out of a cartoon. Ganador mirrors, Ganador mirrors. You'll see a common theme with pretty much everything I own is Ganador mirrors. So this Evo primarily lives up in Connecticut where it's kept, and I drive it around on all the back roads up there. And unfortunately I did blow it up at a certain point in time. I don't remember if it was launch control or hitting limiter, but I lost the bottom end, and MA Performance helped me out and sponsored an engine build. So this thing has a fully built MA Performance forged bottom end, built head. It's got GSC valve train cams. Runs again on Ignite Red fuel. It is tuned on a standalone by Jamie Marsh. He did a great job on this car. It always runs great. MA Performance manifold. It's got a Cuello radiator, still has AC. Engine bay obviously isn't the prettiest, but you guys don't have to worry about that. Again, custom spec'd out BCDS series suspension with Swift springs. Most of my cars have twin discs. If I can get a twin disc for the application, I'll have a twin disc in it. This car's OS Geiken twin disc. I don't remember what other brand clutches I have in all the other cars. But interior wise, pretty much stock. Comes with really nice Recaros. It's got a suede Nardi in it. Shifter stock. I thought about going to a CE shifter. I actually got one so I could be like ding, 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 ding. But I just like the stock look of this car. It's very much a time capsule, and when I drive it, I feel like I'm driving a car out of the 90s. I have a blast. It just feels happy. I sit up kind of high. And this car just really ticks all the boxes for me. It looks great, sounds great, gets decent fuel mileage, it's comfortable, I can fit 4 people in it. It's a blast on the track, it's reliable. It sounds great, it looks great. Did I mention it's awesome on the track? It pulls hard out of corners, it's special. If I had to keep one car out of all these and get rid of all the others, I say over and over again, it would be the Evo. The only thing I can't do with it is drift, but other than that, this car is sick. Probably one of my favorite memories with this car is driving it up to Florida right after I got it. Stopped in the Poconos and did a track day up there. Stopped in the Smoky Mountains, ripped it around there, scared the pants off all my friends. But yeah, this car is definitely one of my favorites. I think it's one of the coolest builds. Definitely has the most character. It's a blast. And other than the fact that launch control is currently enabled because the car's standing still and it won't let me rev super high, let me know what you guys think about how it sounds. right, next one's a quick one. We have the 2019, is it 2019? I think it's 2019. Ford F350 Powerstroke. So, coolest part about this car, it's got Wicked Customs leveling kit and some big fat specialty forged wheels. In the back we've got some Toyo open countries. In the front we got the same. Nice aggressive look, but they make zero road noise. I tow with this setup. The wheels are 22s, they look sick, the car drives great. Or the truck drives great. And then we also have big effing trucks. Helped me out with all the paint match stuff like door handles, mirrors, emblems, grills all blacked out, white Ford emblem. Then my favorite part of all is the black platinum tailgate. So this car's cool. I really don't drive it that much. It's usually just a kind of a tow vehicle. I thought I would daily it, but I kind of miss my single rear wheel truck. Originally, when I knew that I was gonna do FD, I thought that I was gonna use this with a gooseneck, but then it turned out better to get the toter home, which we'll talk about shortly. And this thing kind of became overkill and is just used for my single hitch trailer. So unfortunately, I wish I still had a single wheel truck. Maybe I'll trade this in, but it does have a GMO Performance exhaust, as you guys will soon hear. It does have some special stuff going on underneath, and it has a PPEI tune. So this thing's rad, got a little bed cover on it. Most of my cars don't have any damage, except for Tommy, when he worked for me, did hit a sign with it in front of my shop that he still denies, but we know he did it. It's just kind of an ongoing joke, I don't really care. But other than that, yep, that's my truck. Don't have much memories with this truck because I don't really drive it that often on my own, but I will say one of my best memories with my last truck, which was pretty much the same thing, was not having any clue about how to tow and hopping in this big truck with a big giant 30-foot trailer and going across the country, because I learned real fast what to do and what not to do. So many like crazy circumstances happen, and made it through. As I said before, it was always a dream to own a chaser. So this JZX100 that I picked up, I don't even remember how it came about or how I found out it was for sale. I wish it wasn't so clean. Originally this was supposed to be a drift car, but it turned out that this is one of the cleanest JZX100s I have ever seen, and I just couldn't let myself ruin it. So this one does have a Vertex body kit. It has these SSR wheels that I did have on my S15 at one point. It's got a pretty cool finish where they kind of have a color changing face. Kind of aggressive spec, so I have to run more camber than I'd like. The car isn't really that drivable, but it looks great. And it's kind of my show car, if you will. So look at that, thing's sick. This car has very, very nice fab work done by my friend Fidel Cashflow. It's got a full titanium exhaust underneath, powder coated subframe with all serial 9 bushings. I do plan on changing out the trans in this. It currently has a CD in it. I just don't like how it feels. It makes kind of a bit too much clunky noise with the solid bushings, and I might swap parts with my other JZX100. And inside, I'm not the craziest about it because it is tan interior. This car was originally an NA auto car that was swapped, and you'll see in the interior, it's kind of mismatched right now. I did put Recaro SR3s in it. I got black door panels, but I didn't get all the carbon trim, so I've got wooden trim here and there, different colored dash parts, and I plan to change stuff around from the other car. But this thing is currently stock ECU, just with an Innovate wide bin gauge, but it does have some cool stuff going on underneath the hood. Oh, and again, the baddest shifter in the business, the Serial 9 short shifter for the CD09. Another cool thing about this car that you don't see very often, it does have a digital cluster. It's kind of a cool thing that sets it apart. Makes you feel like you're driving a spaceship. I don't know, I like it. Again, custom spec'd out BCDS series suspension. It's got a Blitz intercooler up here. This car actually does have a Garrett G25 660 turbo. So this car could make around 600 wheel, even though it's a stock 1J, it'll take it. Thing is, I just never wanted to take it off a stock ECU because stock ECU is so simple, and I don't really have the tire or the alignment to make more than what it makes now, which is around 350 wheel. After that, you run out of stock injector, but the cool thing is the stock ECUs will compensate up to that. So, other stuff in the engine bay, I've got a custom exhaust manifold, again made by my friend Fidel Cashflow, custom downpipe, tile external gate, sounds great, some custom fabbed intercooler piping and stuff. Still MAF, still stock ECU. Not the prettiest engine bay, but it works. I want to do some gauges in this car, and like I said, swap around some interior bits. At some point, I would love to throw this car on Ignite Red, you know, put some injectors in it and an ECU, and then we should be able to turn the boost way up. Oh, actually, never mind. The reason why I haven't done that, because that is pretty easy, is because the car needs a clutch. The clutch definitely won't handle around anything more than probably 400 wheel, so there's no reason for me to do that. But I do have a couple different transmission and clutch setups. Thinking about putting a V160 in this car, but man, this thing looks so good. Best memory with this car, I would have to say, is when Jimmy came down and we slammed it on these wheels and I was ripping a burnout in the parking lot out front, sidestepping, making all the cool noises. Oh my God. It's been a blast. It is a show car, which is, you'll notice most of my cars are driver's cars. They're all set up, they all have great suspension, good brakes. I could take any of them to the track, whether it be drifting or road course or whatever, and just go thrash. But this is the one car I have that isn't really suited for doing anything other than cruising. But it is fun because it just lets me kind of relax when I'm driving around and just kind of chill and have fun and cruise. So this car is going to get some TLC hopefully soon to get it more how I want it to be, but it isn't going to go through any major changes unlike some of the builds that we're about to get to. Before we talk about the GT3, which is next, the next car that came about was my Evo over in Australia. So the story behind that car, I picked it up because it was super clean. It's rare dandelion yellow. It was fairly cheap over in Australia. And the idea kind of was that I was gonna do this crazy 1,000 horsepower build because there's a lot of companies in Australia that were gonna sponsor stuff for it. And I will tell you, after doing 500 wheel in my Evo, I decided I do not want to do more than 500 wheel in an Evo. It will just be an undrivable car. I like to be able to drive the crap out of all my cars, and it's just too much for the chassis in my opinion. Sure, you can make it work, but I'm really, really happy with that power level. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that car. I do plan on bringing it over. Keep you guys updated once I figure out more. I've had plenty of videos talking about the GT3 RS and why it means so much to me. Probably the first car I have ever purchased that was purely for me and not for some reason that it was super cheap or something that I thought would make a lot of good content. I got this car because it is the best driver car on the market, in my opinion, but a lot of people's opinion. This is a 2019 GT3 RS with a WISAC package, exposed carbon hood, exposed carbon roof, exposed carbon spoiler. Everything about the car is pretty much stock. I do have Dundon headers and a Dundon exhaust setup. It was really fun getting to work on this car myself. I did it with my friend Matt, and we, you know, put everything in. I've got some tow hooks that I put in for strapping it down, I should say. Strap down hooks, I don't know what you'd call them, in the rear and in the front. Presidential detailing fully corrected the car, coated it, and then Auto Paint Guard did do a phenomenal job using SunTech Ultra, wrapping pretty much all of the stuff that would get rock chips, because, you know, having this thing on the track doing over 140 miles an hour, it's gonna get rock chips. Favorite thing on this car, my custom roll cage that Titan made for me with my LZ kind of cut into the metal. Looks very, very cool. Very cool interior. One of my favorite bits about it, all the Alcantara and the orange stitching. I had to wait like 3 months extra for that stitching, but super worth it. This is, well, I should say used to be one of my only automatic cars, and I was kind of on the fence about getting a GT3 non-RS so I could get a manual one. But the PDK is really fun. It is the most direct feeling thing in the world. It's super fast on the track. It's just a different driving experience. I will say I'm getting kind of bored of it. It's a blast on the track and a fun to drive around, but it's hard to be in situations where I can fully put the car to use, and I like being able to drive the crap out of my cars. So in Florida, this thing kind of sucks because it's not fun just going stoplight to stoplight, but taking this thing up to Connecticut, having it with the Evo, tearing up back roads, driving with my friends, making cool noises echoing off the mountains, that's where this thing shines. I'd say fondest memory with the car is probably taking it up to the Smoky Mountains and ripping up there with everybody and doing the whole Smoky GT cystic fibrosis fundraiser with a bunch of rad older guys that love to abuse the crap out of their GT3s. This thing really shines on the track. I'm super fortunate to have it. It's always a blast to drive, but it's not the most exciting car for content, and you won't see it pop up on the channel that much, but I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. Probably keep it forever, but it is cool because it is one of those cars that holds its value really well. I think on the registry, only 1% of cars in North America are lava orange, and I think even less Vizek package. I think there's about 10 cars in this setup in the States, so it is pretty rare. The reason why I did lava orange, A, it was one of my favorite colors, and B, they did a bunch of cars that were 991. This car is 991.2. Their launch color was kind of the lava orange, so I knew that not that many people would get it because they didn't want to have their car look like the last generation. But then everyone gets the new color, which was lizard green, and then everyone's got lizard green ones, and I had a cool kind of unique one that was lava orange. Originally I had a paint assemble allocation, but Porsche stopped that, and this car was supposed to be maritime blue, which would have been really cool. It was going to be maritime blue with black wheels, but ended up having to revert to lava orange, and I still love it, and it still is very cool and special to me. You'll notice on the rev clips it's not revving to 9 grand like it actually does, because the cars just don't let you unless you're rolling, so keep that in mind, but it does sound great. Next up is my 2019 Can-Am Turbo R XDS. I didn't know whether or not I should include this in the video, but I posted it up on Twitter and everyone said I should because it has 4 wheels and is technically something that can be driven on the street. So it's pretty much stock, but it does have some bolt-ons from Evo Raceworks or Evo Power Sports, one of the two. I always get them mixed up. It is on Ignite Red fuel. It makes around 200 all-wheel, which is crazy with the tune. It's got a few little turbo mods and stuff. It has pretty cool exhaust setup. A lot of this stuff I actually got through Can-Am for it, like the speaker setup that is very rad and integrated. I have their harnesses. I still got to do a roll cage. People like to upgrade the roll cage on these. I have rolled it twice now, so it would be a good idea. Got their windshield, their roof. Nothing too crazy. I still got to change the arms out. I have one bent. It's just kind of like a weak point of it. Reason I got this thing, Tommy had one, kind of was probing me to get one so I could go drive with him. So I really like riding this thing up north and like rally trails and stuff. I'm not too crazy about jumps. I'm not too crazy about going in the dunes or mud pits and stuff, but I like pretending that I'm a rally car driver. So probably some of the most fun I've had in the past year has been on this thing. Doesn't make for the best content, but it kind of was a random last minute splurge decision, and I definitely don't regret it. Launches like crazy. It's super fast. It sounds cool. I love it. the 370Z is probably one of the biggest cars on my channels right now, aka Zeroy. It's called Zeroy because it was kind of a mock of Cletus's Leroy that had twin turbos sticking out of the hood. You'll see right now it doesn't have an engine in it because the engine has blown up for a second time, but it is going to be getting another engine. I don't know how soon, but stay tuned because we will probably have an update on this car in the next day or two of all the new stuff going on with it. It does have a pretty cool Shine Auto front bumper, as well as some Shine Auto side skirts that I haven't put on it yet. Did make around 700 wheel with twin Garrett G25 turbos, spooled like crazy, tuned by RS Enthalpy, stock ECU, big Akebono brakes, some cheap wheels that I got just because this car was supposed to be a burnout car, but has kind of escalated into more of a drag car. I really want to run 10s with this car, maybe even 9s at some point. Suspension wise, custom BC, has some Forge Line wheels, I think, that Titan was kind enough to lend to me, with some big 28 bias ply sticky tires. Nothing too crazy in the rear, except for a very crazy setup in the trunk. Just kidding, I kind of lied. It doesn't have a battery in it, so I can't show you what's in the trunk, but it's got a pretty cool setup with an ice chiller for the intake manifold because it is water to air, and then another tank that's a water sprayer for cooling the radiator if I'm doing super long burnouts. This car still CD trans, got a crazy gnarly twin disc setup in it. It's got a dash that was destroyed. I originally got this car because it was a good deal. It was like $5 grand and I thought I could buy it and then flip it and make some money. Someone would need a drift car. It would make someone's useful drift pig, but no one wanted it, and it was sitting in my parking lot, and I kept getting hyped up on burnouts from Australia. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do something ignorant. My friend Johan made me some custom exhaust manifolds for the twin G25s. Doc Race made me that plenum, and this turned into one of the coolest cars, spitting flames and doing cool things everywhere. Bride Lomax seats, one of my favorite seats. But what you can expect to see with this car, I definitely want to keep beefing it up. I want to be able to make a 10-second pass, hopefully in the next week or two, maybe a 9-second pass by the first couple months of next year. It's been really fun for me to kind of play with the drag racing stuff because it is different than drifting. It's not very subjective, it's much more numerical and data driven. I want to make it lightweight. I got some carbon bits coming in for the car, so you guys can definitely expect a lot of content with this. It's fun, it's new, it's exciting. Most of these cars are special to me because they are fun and they're different, and it just they all tick different boxes and they all kind of serve different purposes, and this has been one of the most fun ones lately, and I know you guys like it. So I'm gonna have to insert a sound clip from another video since I don't have any videos with it right now. But I will tell you, favorite memory, I did mention with this one, favorite memory is probably rolling with Tommy because he's funny and it was fun to roll with him.
Maniac.
What?
You're a maniac. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
How did that happen?
Hold on. I'll unclip.
Roll me over, it's dripping.
I'll help you.
Favorite memory with this one would probably be, honestly, blowing it up in my parking lot.
Hurry!
The manifolds are glowing.
That was very, very exhilarating, having the whole thing go yeah, I thought it was sketchy, but it was sketchy, I guess. Real quick, worthy mentions that should have came after the GT3 RS. That is when I did get big old Bertha toter home that I used to bring all of our squad to the FD rounds, including can stack 3 cars in the back. I'm not gonna put too much time into this because this is more of a car-based video. This thing's rad. It's got a slide out, it's got TV, Xbox, it's got food and a kitchen and a bathroom. I can fit 3 cars in back. If it didn't mesh, I could fit 3 cars in back, which I need with all these cars. So that's cool. Around the same time is also when the 1JZ E36 happened, which I know I could give you guys an update at. 1J car that I bought for this car. Sounds pretty cool for an E36, right? So these 318s come with a 4-cylinder, right? But this one has a 6-cylinder in it. Can you guess what 6-cylinder it has? It's got a 1J! That car's been at paint, but hopefully we'll have it back in the next week or two so I can let you guys know what's going on with that car. Notice I'm kind of talking faster now because I'm running out of daylight and I'm stressed and I want to make sure I get this video done because I can't have it bleed into tomorrow because I got a lot of other crazy stuff going on. But another car that kind of came around the same time was my Evo that I have in the UK. So walking around, the car's fairly stock, still on stock wheels, nothing too crazy about it aesthetically. It's got some cool parts in it though. So one of my favorite things, how cool is the interior on this car?
It's sick. It will never age.
So the seats and everything have this cool like kind of texture to them. Comes factory with Recaros. Interior wise, this car is pretty much stock. Nothing too wild, but it's a very, very clean interior, no cracks or weird bubbles in the dash. Just kind of just a simple example of an Evo 4. But underneath the hood, it does have a cool couple little cool bits. All right, so popping up the hood, first thing, I don't think that Evos come stock with these guys. What is this? The name you can always count on, Soki Fetch? That seems like a Japan thing. The American writing, it says the name you can always count on it. They always say things weird. But that's cool because it doesn't have a hood prop. How does it look? Is it blown out or can you see what's going on? Yeah. Overall, the engine bay is super, super clean. If you guys saw Tommy's, his was kind of like cruddy and junky and had little rust spots and stuff. But the paint and like, there's not a lot of oxidation and weird stuff going on like the intake manifold and stuff. Parts wise though, I'm pretty sure it's still stock turbo. It just feels like stock power. This is a really, really cool piece. I don't even know if you could get this anymore or how expensive this would be, but it's an ARC manifold cover, which is really, really neat. The reason I got that car, Tommy got an Evo over in the UK and we were just gonna like cruise together and do stuff. So it's a red Evo 4, I'll insert some clips. Favorite memory with that one, bumped some drum and bass that came on the CD in the car with my shirt off because it was hot and I think the AC wasn't working or something and it was tied around my head and making loud pops because that's about all that it did. Driving around shirtless, hanging my shirt out the window to try to dry it. I probably look pretty funny to you guys in the UK. You probably do. We're very close to Josh's house. I'm excited. I'm starting to recognize stuff. It's a cool car. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Next up is my other chaser. This car came about because it was a crazy deal, 5,000 bucks for a factory manual chaser. I got it because I wanted to steal the manual parts out of it for my other car and because it did have a very nice black interior. It actually wasn't crashed that bad to the point where I was able to bring it back and have this car as a replacement for the 350Z. Once I get it dialed in, this will be a great missile car. The 1JZs are very reliable. This car did have a V160 in it that I ended up changing back for another R154. Recaro SR3 seats, Vertex wheel. Other than that, it's got a cool Ogura super single clutch, a little Ebisu thing for my birthday just for some character, custom BCDS suspension. From VR wheels, I have some 10.5 rear, 9.5 front LXZs rebuilt with some new fat chrome lips. It's full Origin racing line, very aggressive, but this car is supposed to kind of be a race car, so I wasn't trying to go for a clean street car look. It was wrapped in this very cool color that I got the idea from a friend in Australia by Guardian Wraps. They did a phenomenal job. Again, we got the Ganadors. This car is pretty much stock under the hood. This car and my other car both have extended control arms. The other car is more for stance. This car is for the modded knuckles that it has to give it a little bit more angle. Ugh. So Definitely not the prettiest 1JZ engine bay, especially compared to my other car. Similar in the sense that it's stock ECU, but this car is also stock turbo, just rebuilt with a metal wheel instead of a composite one that likes to blow up. So it is externally gated, which is kind of cool on a stock manifold. Sounds cool. Probably makes around the mid 300s for power. It's got a Koya radiator in it. Other than that, nothing too crazy. Just had to redo the diff bushings in the rear. This and the other car, one of them, the other car has a two-way. This car has a welded diff in the rear. Like I said, it was crashed really bad and then brought back to life by our friend Billy Mitchell. But it's a very cool car, and I just need to put a little more TLC into it. I think I need adjustable lowers in the front or adjustable uppers, because of the fact that this strut tower is pushed in a little bit. I can't get the alignment right. The car just constantly pulls to one side, so I want to dial that in, and then this car will be really good. It's very fast in drift. It's a blast to drive. JZX100s are one of my favorite cars, and it sounds great. Well, let me know what you guys think. We're losing daylight, but we got two cars left. The Supra, the 2020 Supra. I gave one of these away, wound up falling in love with it, so I got another one for myself. I want to run 9s with this car too. I know it can do it. Love the white. White looks great. Favorite memory with this car, probably with the other Supra. I'll just say my favorite memory was doing my 12-hour trip from Connecticut to Florida, just cruising. Super comfortable, no back pain, a blast to drive, sounds cool. Favorite memory with this car, since I didn't give you guys one, would probably be doing a burnout with it right after we got it running in front of the shop, with it going into limp mode and being sketchy and just acting like crazy. I don't know, it was sick doing a burnout in a car that looked totaled, that was going to be sent to a junkyard. Both very rad cars, and I'll do a quick exhaust clip for you guys, as you know, with the Supra. Last but not least, my most recent purchase, my R34 GTR Midnight Purple 3 V-Spec. So other than the fact that this car has the Z-Tune bumper, this car's pretty much stock. It's got aftermarket suspension along with some TE37s. This car will be the car that is getting the most attention probably come January, February. There's a lot of parts I gotta order for it, a lot of stuff I wanna do. I wanna fully go over this car, even more attention to detail than my Skyline and my Evo, zinc coat stuff, undercoat it, powder coat things. Get this car like rad show car, but also rad driver's car. So it already looks great. I think tomorrow, actually, one of the next videos that you guys will see, we're gonna go over to Mormon's place and we're gonna do a crazy detail job in this car, because the paint, even though it looks good right now, is atrocious. But story behind this car, as you guys know, I want to do a 1,000 horsepower Evo. Kind of lost interest in the idea after feeling what my Evo felt like at 500 wheel. What's a good car to make 1,000 wheel? What about a GTR? So probably not gonna be a 1,000 wheel right off the bat. I wanna kind of do this car in stages. I will be making videos soon giving you guys a rundown on everything I'm gonna do to it and kind of what you can expect. But as of right now, it is 100% stock with a Mines ECU that makes the car detonate, so I have to put race gas in it or higher octane gas, otherwise it gets mad because it's not Japanese gas that it was tuned on. But this will be a very, very fun build that I think you guys can look forward to. It's gonna be good, but I'm gonna take my time with it. I don't wanna rush it. It's a very, very special car, and this is kind of how I wanna start my year of 2020, building higher level cars with special engines and doing very, very detail oriented, but very, very rad performing builds. So this car, best memory, you guys know at our open house, we did a reveal with it and having all my friends piled into it, open up the doors and everyone freaking out because they're stoked that I got my very first GTR. So, very, very special car and a great one to end on, but not the best sounding car in the world because it's so stock. Listen. Quick insertion, one other car that I forgot that I had. Oh, technically there's two other cars I forgot I had, and they're not in any specific order, but there is a 1JS13 that I own in Colorado right now that I got to run some events out there. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but maybe I'll fly to Colorado and use it again. But here's some clips of that car right now. Somewhere in the midst of all these cars, we actually built a replica car of my S13 over in Australia. It's a 180SX, very, very similar to that car. I'm gonna insert a couple clips of that car right now. I'm not gonna give you a full rundown on it because I just did that recently, but very, very, very similar to that other car. But anyway, this is how cool it looks in the light. I'm super, super excited to get to drive this thing tomorrow. All right guys, before I close out this video, I thought it would be cool. I'm gonna put all the exhaust clips back to back to back to back. Let me know in the comment section which car sounds the best. I wanna know what you guys think. I think I know which car I think sounds the best, but I wanna hear what you guys have to say. I'm not going to tell you guys which one I thought sounds the best because that'll probably influence your decision, and I want to see what you guys think. But moving forward, this is my collection of very, very rad, very special cars that are all very different, all very fun to drive, and all very unique in their own way. I hope you like them. Part of my goal of 2020 is to add a couple more cars to this collection and start this crazy driver car collection. Maybe get a new shop where I can have them all next to each other and just have every single car where I could just hop in, turn the key, and go rip. It's been a blast. These cars have made a lot of great content and I could not do it without your guys' support. So I'm very, very appreciative of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It definitely took me longer to make than I thought. Talking about every single car and getting them all parked and everything, it was kind of turned into a job, but it's been really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's any more questions or anything you want me to highlight on these cars in the future, and I can be sure to do that. And make sure you hit that like button if you want to see the side-by-side race happen. I think we can get all the cars side by side. We might need to ditch a couple. I don't know how many we can necessarily fit, but that would be pretty epic. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.
When you said